Warning: the following visual novel contains subject matter that some viewers may find sensitive and perhaps even distressing. For example, this visual novel touches upon issues of xenophobia, anti-LGBT prejudice, toxic masculinity, abusive behaviour, and also sexual assault and the trauma that it inflicts upon its victims. This does mean that certain scenes within the game will likely make many players feel uncomfortable. If you have ever been a victim of xenophobia, anti-LGBT prejudice, abuse or violence, especially including of a sexual nature, then please be aware of this before you watch this playthrough. And please rest assured that the words and actions of certain characters within this visual novel should not be taken to reflect the views of either myself as a Let's Player or of the devs who made the game. For full disclosure, I am a supporter of LGBT rights. I am a supporter of challenging and tackling xenophobia and prejudice of any kind, and I am also well aware of the trauma suffered by victims of violence and abuse, and the need to therefore treat them with sympathy and support. The General Red Strategist channel is meant to be a safe space where people of all walks of life can come and enjoy my content. Thank you for listening to this. I just wanted to make this clear, as I felt that some of the issues touched upon in this visual novel could be shocking for some. Okay, back in, right? Yeah, I just took the music down just to ensure, I can still hear myself. No. Well, that's it. Look, I'll see this again, I'll tell Lisa. She'll definitely kick you in the neck for it. Okay, I got it. You better tell me, Lisa, do you have a boyfriend? Just a straightforward question. You could also have asked, does your mother need a son-in-law? Why do you care? Even if the two of us were stuck here forever, I still wouldn't date you anyway. Are you one of those girls who go around rejecting guys and likes to play hard to get? My type. Yeah, I'm just going to say, the whole play hard to get thing, no mate, no. That never fucking happens in real life, okay? It doesn't. It's just a silly Hollywood bullshit that ends up with guys harassing girls because they believe that she's playing hard to get when actually she's trying to tell you very emphatically that she's not interested. Don't be one of those sorts of guys, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be, okay? This is not General Red talking anymore, this is Dad Red talking to you. I mean, I'm not even a dad, I don't have kids, but I can tell you this right now, if I did have kids, this is something I would nail into them. If a girl says no, then leave her alone, okay? Oh god, do you like sunrays, Nick? Really, are you asking that? Oh wow, okay. That's the first time though I've ever seen a visual novel have two text boxes appear like that, to signify two characters talking at the same time. I mean, admittedly, I haven't played many visual novels in my time, but of the ones I have played, first time I've ever seen that done. Who's this? Who are you calling Sunray, you little brat? Do you know what it means? Alistair hesitated. Gotcha. I don't know, it just sounds weird. Okay, that's it, I'm tired of both of you. I'll smoke and go to bed. Give me a cigarette. Vitya obediently handed her a pack. She took out a cigarette, put it in her mouth and stood there for 10 seconds. A lighter? I remembered a phrase that one of my homies used on such occasions. Do you need help smoking it too? I instantly caught a look full of hatred. Your tongue is too long. Look, you'll regret it later. Okay, I'll shut up. Having whispered to Vitya, I'm sorry, I'm leaving, I hurried to the plane. Chapter 4, Kira. Oh, 2 days later, is it? 28th now? Okay. Coming up with a survival strategy implied our acceptance of the idea that we won't be rescued. Anytime soon, at least. Tried to convince myself and others that this was just a backup plan. We might be found soon, but that doesn't mean we don't need a plan B. Problem was that our plan B started to look more and more like plan A. Now everyone was busy doing things, or was at least pretending to be. Lisa was spending time with the wounded. Several guys were insulating the cabin. Andre collected all the smartphones and walked around the plane with them, trying to catch a signal. The rest were busy collecting firewood on which we melted the snow, turning it into drinking water. We didn't have an axe, and we didn't figure out how to build one, so we had to be content with branches and dead wood. I finished collecting branches and wanted to get some rest, but I couldn't sit still. Guys, who wants to go with me to the back of the plane? Maybe there's some things left that could be useful. Proposing a looting. Elisa was being sarcastic. She looked down on the others and would always find something to complain about and someone to be mad at. At the same time, I started getting used to her communication style, and she was no longer so annoying. This isn't looting. What is it then? Considering our situation, there is nothing wrong about taking things that the wounded won't need. Well, so you'll be soon begin to justify cannibalism. It feels like the Overton window is already open. There is no more banal and hackneyed concept than the Overton window, especially if you mention it in the context of cannibalism. These two smart talkers would make a great couple. I hurry to interrupt their next argument. Okay, are you suggesting that there's going to be tension between these two? So who's going? To be honest, I don't remember the trail very well. It'd be nice if someone from the Central Park would go with me. I'd go. I don't see any harm in taking some things that can help us. Most of all, I was counting on Tonya. She's self-confident, organised and pleasant in communication. Well, let's go then. I suggest moving out as soon as possible. Come on. A couple of minutes after we got off the plane, Elisa caught up with us. Seeing her, Tonya did not hesitate to gloat. Did you decide to join our Marauder squad? Choose. Who you will be, Mooney or Wormtail? Okay, I get that reference. I know it's hard for you to believe, but I still don't plan on taking anything from someone. I could as well have left something of my own out there, and I'll also walk with you and get some rest from all this stupid talk. Who got you so tired? First of all, of course, Sid Vicious. For some reason he thinks he can get me interested. I guess she's talking about Vitya. Having said this, Elisa pretendedly laughed, demonstrating the absurdity of this idea. I'm sorry. Come on, Vitya doesn't seem like a bad dude. I'm not saying that he's bad. He's even good looking, just very intrusive. Kira, you think that everyone around is good except for your Mark. You hate him so much that you don't even notice the other's flaws. I don't hate him, okay? I just don't give a damn about him. Elisa didn't even argue. She just chuckled in response. By the way, Kira, I'm sorry if I'm being too personal, but what's up with him? While I was contemplating how to refuse politely, Elisa suddenly came to the rescue even. I knew you couldn't pass the Bechdel test. I looked at Tonya. She shrugged, then looked at Elisa with a questioning look. Too lazy to tell. Google it later. I'm going to be honest. I've heard of the Bechdel test. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, though. Later when? After we're rescued? The last thing I remember is your smart-ass trying to shine with erudition here. Elisa thought for a few seconds and apparently decided to have mercy on us and share some of her knowledge. Okay, never mind. It's here. This is a test to measure sexism in fiction. You pass if the work contains a scene of dialogue between women who are not talking about men. Okay, interesting. Nice little fourth wall break there. At least the game is self-aware. Oh, so you just wanted to talk about something other than guys? You should have said so then. Can you suggest a topic? At least I didn't expect this outcome, it seems. I don't mind being silent, actually. Kira, come on then. I started thinking. I was going to suggest some pleasant topic to distract from disturbing thoughts. I thought of it for a while and decided that the most pleasant thing in winter is the holidays. How are you planning to celebrate the new year? Nothing super interesting here. I was going to be with my family. I always do that. Like always. Every single time. It's an important tradition. My mother is a big believer in omens. She believes that if we celebrate the new year one day away from each other, then this year will be unsuccessful for our family. And you can laugh, but I also believe in it. I think it's cute, even if you don't believe in omens. I thought for a second. It might actually turn out that we won't be rescued before the end of the year. Does that mean that Tonya's family tradition will be broken? I hastened to reassure her. I think the most important thing here is how much you want it. If getting together won't work out due to circumstances beyond your control, then the omen is not applicable. I like your explanation. I hope that I was able to cheer Tonya up. Despite the fact that I didn't know her for very long, it was important for me, because I was certain that she would do everything to cheer me up in a similar situation. I also felt guilty for choosing a topic in a way that it turned out to be sensitive for Tonya. I'm almost okay with having a bad year. Now I only care about getting home and seeing my family and friends again. Do you have a big family? Not really. My mum, my dad, and elder sister. We're all very close with each other. I'm a little jealous of you. I don't have siblings, and my relationship with my parents is rather cold. This whole setting seemed very conducive for revelations. When you no longer know what awaits you tomorrow, and whether there will be tomorrow at all, family secrets that I would not easily talk about just stop being so personal. Maybe it's still not too late to fix. I'm sure they're worried. When you get back, all those emotions you've been through might give you the opportunity to fix things. Just as I expected, as soon as I started talking about my worries, Tonya immediately started to comfort me. I must admit, she did it very skillfully. Tonya, are you sure you're not a psychologist? Do you mean psychologist? Nope, I do nails. I told you, you remember? She raised her hand and wiggled her fingers. What was this funny word? Psychologist. Strangely enough, Tonya didn't know such a form, or she just wanted to express a negative attitude towards gender specifications. That's okay. A gender-specific job title is a name of a job that also specifies or implies the gender of the person performing that job. English uses s, e.g. actress, and et, bachelorette suffixes for that purpose. God, can't talk all of a sudden again. In Russian-speaking social media, there is a somewhat popular dispute about whether use of gender-specific words really improves women's rights. Interesting. Either way, I was not ready for another discussion about feminatives. Plus, I don't know what my companions think about this, and they're not random people from Twitter, but the ones that I depend on for my survival. I should not start arguing with them under any circumstances. I'm just used to it. All my I didn't say fecal. Why did I almost say fecal? Woo, that's a weird slip of the tongue, that was. All my female psychologist friends call themselves that. I see, then why didn't you introduce yourself as manageress or managerette? Really? Why? I don't know. Probably they just sound weird. Makes sense. After a few seconds of silence, Tonya and I remembered about Elisa almost simultaneously. She'd been silent for a long time, so I decided to check on her. I thought she would at least try to draw her into the conversation. Elisa, how are you going to celebrate the new year? I expected to hear another toxic phrase or sarcasm instead of an answer. I was flying to see my friend. Unexpectedly, Elisa answered very short, but to the point. Great, and were you going to celebrate the new year, a company of friends? No, just with her. You don't speak about it very cheerfully. It's just that unlike you guys, I don't know how to get it all out of my head and enjoy life as if everything is fine. Plus, me and her had a fight recently. But you still decided to visit her? We got into an argument 2 hours before my flight. It's too late to return these damn tickets. I'm sorry. She must be a very close friend? Elisa hesitated. Sorry, just scratching my beard. You could say that. Tonya fell silent. I also decided not to continue. This topic was obviously extremely unpleasant for Elisa. Today we were lucky on sore topics. On the other hand, for the first time we had a more or less normal dialogue with her. It was short and dry, but at least almost with no joking and passive aggression. Oh, hello. Suddenly we've reached the fragment. It seemed to me that we made this faster than the last time. Perhaps it was easier because we were well rested and knew where to go, or maybe the time flew by faster because we were talking to each other. There's nothing interesting outside, it seems. Let's get inside right away. You can come inside. I want to take a little look around outside. Elisa went with me into what was left of the plane. Started my inspection from the shelves for carry-on. Elisa watched me from one of the chairs. Didn't you say you wanted to look for your things? I'm in no hurry. Take them now so I don't stumble on them. Here we go. Now we have to look for our personal stuff so it's not expropriated for shared use. I decided to start with the carry-on shelves. There were bags in some of them. For some reason they were all open. Is it possible that the shelves were already checked on the first day and my whole idea is meaningless? Tonya walked in. Got something? Nothing useful. How about you? Me neither. Tonya, do you know if anyone already checked the shelves when I was unconscious? Tonya tried to remember. I don't think so, unless someone did it while I was out. Why did you ask? Almost all the bags are open here. Stuff is out all around. I don't think that's a good sign. Weird. Maybe they're put open on the shelf. People were probably panicking trying to find something in their bags before they fell. I didn't like this explanation, but I decided to remain quiet for now and keep looking. The fragment was not very large, so we searched pretty quickly. I've got no useful findings. In another men's backpack I found baby shoes. Never worn, probably it was a gift. I remember one of those stories, attributed to Hemingway, and I felt unironically sad because of it for the first time. Whose backpack was this? It is possible that this is the man who died after hitting his head hard. A banal thought struck me. When death is far away, it doesn't seem so terrible. For some reason, I only realise this now. As if before, the brain wouldn't believe that this was all for real. Kira, are you okay? After a short emotional breakdown, I decided that I'll keep fighting, as long as my physical and mental strength allows. I even thought that this would be the ultimate test of my managerial skills, my ability to unite people and work together, even in such hopeless situations. As a child, I used to enjoy Jack London's stories so much. Perhaps it meant something. They were considered boyish, so girls my age read Jane Eyre or Pride and Prejudice, while I was picturing myself as a character in Love of Life, going insane and starving but continuing to fight. In the cosy Moscow coffee shops and open space offices, all of this had been forgotten, but now this was remembered again. I'm fine, Tonya. We'll definitely get out of here. I'll do my best. What happened to you? I like your attitude, though. I also believe we can do it. A moment of self-motivation. You can say that, better than being such a pessimist. I'm a realist. All pessimists say it. I took the shoes. If we survive, I want to find the family of the man who bought them and hand them over. Elisa noticed it. Did you really convince yourself that we'll be back so soon that you'd even decided to take up family planning? While I was thinking about what to say, Elisa suddenly changed her face. Apparently she understood my motives. Okay, stupid joke. Never mind. There were a couple of bags on the seats. One of them had wet wipes and a chocolate bar in it. God, I'm scared of the people that eat like that. The chocolate was bitten. It's the first time I've seen someone eat the chocolate bar without breaking the tiles, but just biting through it. And the bite was quite large. Oh yeah, who the hell does that? Who the hell just gets a chocolate bar that's like divided up into segments or sections, and just doesn't bother like eat them off section by section? Instead just freaking puts it in the mouth and just like an absolute fucking animal. If you do that, you need to reevaluate your life, seriously. He said the bite was quite large. I even felt uncomfortable, but I immediately convinced myself that this was stupid. No need to do eat shaming. Tonya raised her hands as if to say, okay, okay. The second bag on the armchair was mine. How did I forget to take it? In Moscow, leaving the house without a bag begins to feel like a phantom pain, as if I went out for a walk without a part of my body. There's nothing special in the bag though. My cold spray, some cash, documents, phone charger. I took my bag and got ready to leave, but the object lying on a nearby chair caught my attention. What's this? Finding an empty jar, I did not immediately understand what it was, but seeing the lid and pills lying nearby, I remembered my painkiller. Looks like an empty jar. Why? Tonya stared at me with surprise while examining the jar in surprise. I myself didn't understand my reaction, but felt like something was clearly wrong here. I remember the rubber duck debugging method that I heard from one of my programmer colleagues. If you cannot understand what is wrong with some part of code, then try to explain how it works to any person or even to an inanimate object. The programmer who came up with this method, for example, talked about his code to a toy rubber duck. In the process of explaining, you can say something that seemed obvious but was not in active memory before and find the cause of the bug. I decided that Tonya would be my rubber duck. Look, this is my bottle of painkillers. Now what? Are you worried that they spilled out? No. I mean, yes, I'm a bit worried. I get migraines and it's really hard without my pills, so I took them on board with me, but just in case, but that's not the point. What is? How did they spill out? Tonya clearly did not understand what I was leading to. Now, I know what you're leading to there, Kira, because if it's a jar with like a screw-on cap, you know, even through an air crash, it's unlikely that that would have just broken off. So, somebody has removed it, or something fell and crumbled. What's so strange about that? Look. I showed her the jar. It closes really tight. I remember making sure it was closed a few times before putting it in the front pocket of the chair. As it's in the chair as well. So I'm guessing the chair probably gave it cushioning. Because from what I understand, airplane seats are not meant to be like very heavy. They're meant to be fairly lightweight. So, you know, in the event of like a crash, if the chairs break and end up flying around, obviously that way it's not like a fucking massive heavy object flying around and potentially hitting people. It's a lightweight object that people can easily sort of shield themselves from. At least that's just from my very uninformed knowledge. So I could be completely wrong about that. You know, all the armchair airline experts are now going to suddenly come into my comments and they're going to be like, Red, you have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe it was damaged? No, look, it's in perfect condition. Tonya took the jar in her hands and began to examine it. Could one of us open it? To take a pill, for example? The jar was lying on the chair where I was sleeping. I would definitely have noticed if it was open when I woke up. After that, no one touched it for at least until we came back here. I glanced at Elisa. Perhaps she took the medicine while I was looking at the contents of the shelves. Don't look at me like that. Firstly, I already said that I don't take someone else's stuff. Secondly, even if I took it, I would immediately admit it. I would not silently listen to your reasoning. I'm not like that kid to be doing such pranks. By kid, she meant Nick. For some reason, Elisa didn't like him very much. Then who? I was afraid that they would laugh at me, but it seems that both Tonya and even Elisa took my anxiety seriously. It seems to me that there are three options. Either it's somehow opened up from the blow, or there are still survivors here, or these are representatives of the local fauna. Apparently there are some animals in this area. Someone heard sounds at night. Perhaps some animals can open jars, but this is not the case, so let's get rid of the third version right away. It's a weird way to phrase it, but I think that's just maybe just in the translation, you know? Translation's a bit weird. Firstly, I don't see any teeth marks on it. Secondly, look. I took the jar from Tonya and closed it. After that, I showed that you can't open it easily. You must first press the lid lightly. This is done for child safety, so they don't accidentally open the jar and eat the pills. I'm convinced an animal can open it, well, unless it's very smart. I laughed nervously. Very mart animals. I think you mean very smart animals, just what we needed. How about open by itself? Throw it so that it opens. Tonya made several attempts. The jar, of course, did not open, but after Tonya's last most furious throw, a scratch appeared on it. Well, it seems there are other survivors. Probably they have been here, decided it would not be possible to stay here and went further, but they couldn't find the trail. The tail, rather. It's only strange that they didn't take anything or almost anything. They just tossed everything around. Maybe they approve of Elisa's idea that it's sinful to take things of the dead. From the dead, rather. Did I say it was a sin? I just told them against it, because I, unlike you, have principles. If you say so. Kira, should we look for people who've been here? Ooh, that's, Okay, I'm just going to say right now, this feels like a choice, where if I make the wrong decision, I could end up getting someone killed. I don't know if you should try to... When it says, yes, we should try to find them, does that mean potentially going out into the wilderness to see if there's any tracks? Because that feels like it could be dangerous, that could. I think we are unlikely to succeed. Could be the safer option here. So do we play this safe? Do we play this rationally? The way you should do if you're in a survival situation? Or do we go down the friggin' horror movie trope of making all the terrible decisions that are clearly going to get you killed? You know what? Screw it. Caution to the wind. I think we want to see what the most interesting outcomes will be here. So, screw it. Yes, let's try and find them. We have to try to find them. They may need our help. I'll help them too, but how are we going to find them? The footprints are already wiped out, so no idea where we need to go. Maybe then we can go back, rest and send out a search party in that direction? We were planning to look for luggage anyway. I don't mind. Tonya agreed, but it felt like she thought that it's pointless. Or is she as well hesitant because of something else? Had enough playing detectives there. Are you ready to go back? Elisa's voice seemed to bring me back to the real world, where it's cold, scary and hungry. Yeah, let's go. Enough of this. Okay, maybe it was a false choice then. Oh, chapter 5. Nick again. Kiddo, it's the 29th now. It's next day. Sip of water whilst I'm at it. Mark made a map of the area a couple of days ago. Since then, several search parties of 2 or 3 people went to look for the front of the plane and the luggage. We haven't found anything yet, but at least now we had a goal that is a little less abstract than just surviving. This morning I said I wanted to go on a search too, and Mark called me along. I was looking forward to the hike, which I thought would save me from boredom. But Mark still couldn't finish getting ready, continuing to look at and mark something on his homemade map. Are you coming soon? In like 5 minutes. You said that already about 15 minutes ago. Mark took his eyes off the map. That was basically notepad sheets taped with Mitrich's tape and looked in my direction angrily. I have an idea where the luggage might be. Let me finish. It was strange seeing Mark angry. I decided not to distract him anymore. I didn't want to sit in the plane either, so I went outside. I expected to find smokers at the entrance, but instead I saw Tonya and Kira coming back from somewhere. Hey Nick, going somewhere? Mark and I are going to look for luggage, but he's busy working on his map. Oh, if Mark starts working on something, he forgets all his promises. He'll probably be waiting for a long time, like 2 or 3 hours. Hearing it, Tonya sighed and rolled her eyes. Where did you come from, by the way? Also came for your luggage? No, we've had an important task. We're looking for people who might have been to the centre. Centre meaning the central wreckage of the plane, and camp as the backside. It's funny how quickly a group of very newly acquainted people began to have their own words. So did you find it? No, but we came across footprints, and not even human footprints. I remember the sounds Vitya and I heard a few days ago, and my heart raced. And what were they? Dogs, most likely, though Tonya claims the opposite. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's something else. You know, my mum is the biggest dog person. I love dogs too, and I know all about them. These tracks do look like dog tracks, but there's something wrong with them. They're longer, the pads aren't the same. Also, there are 5 toes on the paws. I thought someone was flying with a dog. It survived the fall and is running around somewhere right now, but since Tonya is so sure, I must have been wrong. I would assume that it's something from local fauna, but we kind of decided that no animals live here. Maybe it's some other pet? Something more exotic? Like what? Let's say a raccoon? Out here? Well done, Nick. Good point. Raccoons do have 5 toes on their front legs, in fact, but out here? I was afraid my assumption would be observed, so I was pleasantly surprised by Tonya's praise. She wouldn't question the fact that someone could take a raccoon on a flight from Moscow to Barnaul. Yeah, that too. Anyway, whoever that was, I feel very sorry for him. The flight alone is very stressful for animals, and then there's this, and now he's wandering around somewhere all alone. I'll probably go look for him again. I'm with you, but let's rest first, okay? Tonya reluctantly agreed. Heard someone come out from behind me. It was Mark. Finally. Hi Tonya, hi Kira. Hi Mark. Kira went silent, quite expected of her. Shall we go? Come, that way. Mark checks the map one last time and puts it in his pocket. The first... Oh right, this is Nick's voice. The first hike for luggage begins. Yeah. Then Mark fell silent, thinking. And after a few seconds his face lit up. Nick, you want a jug? Sure. We're going on a hike to find luggage. So who are we? He looked at me as if expecting me to come up with an answer. I shook my head. Cargonauts. Oh god. Well, I guess you've got to keep your spirits up somehow. Having said that, he laughed, so I laughed too, quite genuinely. It was so bad that it was even good. We were already far away from the other search parties when I finally decided to break the silence. Mark? I distracted him from his thoughts, it seemed. Unlike me, Mark was comfortable with the long silence. Can I ask you a question? Yes, of course. Did you and Kira ever date? He seemed a little surprised. Yeah, we did. And you had a bad breakup? He didn't answer my question, but he slowed his step a little. It was as if he'd been carried away with memories. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. I hurriedly corrected the awkward pause. There's nothing secret about it. Our breakup was indeed unpleasant. It was my fault. He fell silent again. Mark seemed to be an interesting but reserved person. I was curious to know more about him, but I couldn't find the right question. Eventually, to my relief, he decided to continue on his own. I can tell you if you're interested by any chance. I nodded. Well, Kira and I went to the same university. She's a year younger. We met at a birthday party for my classmate, who also happened to be her dorm roommate. So you're her senpai? You're going all anime on us here, Nick. Very funny, but yeah, I guess I am. Oh, was that supposed to be actual dialogue? Spoken out loud? Didn't realise. For some reason I was sure Mark knew the meaning of that word. I wasn't wrong. We were faced with the choice of going downhill or finding a bypass. The downhill itself was only about 4 feet high, but very steep, almost vertical. Down? Duh, come on. None of us have been down here yet. Can you handle the descent? Are you kidding? It'll be a little harder to climb back up, but it's a piece of cake to get down there. I like Mark, partly because he treated me like an equal. He didn't think I was a child to be patronised. He listened to my opinions, and yet sometimes he underestimated me. I'll go first. As you wish. I approached the descent and carefully touched the ledge with my feet, and in a minute I was already down there, waiting for Mark. His attempt at climbing wasn't very successful. He stumbled and fell into the snow from a height of about 2 metres. Mark stood up and shook off his clothes. You won't tell anyone about this fiasco. What's in it for me? I'll finish the story. Deal. We kept going over the map. So we dated for about 6 months. At first, Kira often tried to get me out of the house, finding all sorts of interesting activities, constantly calling me out. I also took the initiative, but much less often since I was writing my diploma thesis at the time and was only busy studying. Over time, these attempts gradually stopped. We saw each other 2 or 3 times each month, talking mostly in VK. A week before graduation, I stopped replying to her messages. Why couldn't you ask her to give you time? I don't know. I didn't give a shit about anything at all at the time. I was just living in my studies and constantly thinking about my future academic career. So on the 7th day, after the 44th unanswered message, she finally blacklisted me. This was the day before my defence. Sucks. Yeah, I'm really ashamed of it all now. I was then too, though. After the defence, I tried to find her and apologise, but in the end I realised that even if she forgave me, a similar situation could happen again, and I didn't want that. We haven't seen each other since then. Well, you're a weirdo. Kira's a cool person. I'm not arguing, she's really cool, beautiful and interesting to talk to. It's just that science has always been more important than relationships, and I haven't learned how to combine both. Big Bang Theory reference there. Oh my god, it's raining outside. The heavens are opening up. Does that mean it's not going to be so hot anymore here in the UK? No, I'm not that obsessed with science, although if I'm not mistaken even Sheldon ended up finding himself a girlfriend. Maybe all isn't lost for me either. I laughed. Maybe. In fact, now I can see why Kira's been hating you so much. Yeah. She has every right to. Nick, where are you going to apply for studies? Mark decided to change the subject. I don't know yet. Any recommendations? I can't answer that. I need to know which subjects are easy for you and which you like. I'm doing well in all my classes at school. With mathematics maybe a little better than the others. I even made it to the regional stage of the Olympiad. So you're more of a techie? I guess so. That said, my favourite subject is literature. What about you? Are you also a techie? Well, it's all very relative, but I think economists are something in between tech and humanities, one of the touch points. I like economics too, but our economics teacher is a mean, useless old woman. Bad luck. I stopped to catch my breath. My face was already sore from the cold, and my legs were sore from fatigue. I also felt like I was getting sick. Tired? Let's take another 10 minutes, and if we don't find anything, we'll go back. Duh, okay. I pulled myself together and we got going. Nick, do you have any hobbies? Oh no, those questions again. I'm just getting over the stress of having to tell you about myself by Kira's request. Mark, apparently guessing my train of thought, hurry to explain. If there's nothing specific, then say so. And if anything, it's totally fine if your hobbies are something like watching Netflix shows or playing FIFA. Not everybody collects stamps. Do I have a hobby? I don't think there's anything in particular. What do I do in my spare time? Well, I like games. What kind? Any kind. I like computer games, word games, sports and board games. I just like to play. I like when there are rules and when you can win. Interesting. I think that sounded really dumb. I'd rather say I sometimes watch TV shows in the evenings or read books. Turns out your hobby is my job. What are you talking about? Try to guess. What, are you a game designer or something? I paused. Nothing suitable came to mind. Maybe you're a therapist who treats gambling addicts? I think my assumptions were funny for him. Good guess, but what a therapist can I be? I could use therapy myself. Actually, I work at university. I teach game theory. Oh, game theory, okay. Oh, of course. He said before about academic career, didn't he? I completely blanked that somehow. Okay, so game theory being the sort of economic model. So maybe you're in like a economic or a political discipline. What do your students call you? By your name and a patronymic? Mark... Eugenovich. No, they call me Mr. Mark. Maybe I should do it too? If you enroll in our university and take my classes, then yes. Now, though, that's unnecessary. We walked in silence for a while longer. Mark, why don't we take a break? Yes, I was going to suggest it myself. We took a break. The place wasn't the best. There was nothing around but snow. We picked a spot where the snow was harder so we wouldn't fall in. I noticed that we were silent again for a long time. The hardest thing about my conversations with Mark is finding the right subject to talk about. If it works out, it goes on smoothly. What's game theory all about? I guess my question was really stupid, but I couldn't think of anything better. Mark thought for a few seconds. About games. Only a game in this case is any interaction between people. So games in the usual sense of the word are also included? Yeah, almost all of them. But game theory creates models in the first place, so you can find references to the simplest games, like rock, paper, scissors or head or tails. But you almost certainly can't find texts about Contract Bridge or League of Legends. I see. So how are they studied? They create formal models for them, which are used to tell balance and optimal tactics. Have you heard of the prisoner's dilemma, for example? It's probably the most mainstream. I've heard of it, but only in general terms. Good, then I'll tell you more. Oh, wow, okay. Mark started to explain, and I imagined I was in a big classroom listening to a lecture. Let's suppose two thieves were caught at the same time on similar crimes. They are taken to different rooms and offered the following deal. If they testify, they will be released for helping the investigation. Sorry to interrupt, but can the criminal be released for just cooperating? I don't think so. They'll probably just soften the sentence. But you do realise that's just a model, right? I'll get to real-life examples a little later. Yeah, sure, I was just wondering. Will you continue? The cops believe they were acting by prior agreement, and in that case criminals usually get more severe punishments than when they commit crimes without accomplices. So if one testifies and the other keeps quiet, the latter gets a maximum sentence of 10 years. Is the crime Oh wait, this is Nick. Is the crime specified in this problem? Not in the canonical one, if I remember correctly. I've heard the bank robbery version, but I don't like it. Too bad. Back to the dilemma. If they both testify against each other, they both get jail for 2 years. If they both keep quiet, they will be judged for less serious crimes and will get 6 months each. What would you do? I don't know. You can keep quiet if you're sure of the accomplice. You can't be sure of him by the rules of the task. Let's say you're not too close friends with him. All other things being equal, you want less time for each other, but you both want freedom. better to testify then, I guess, but that's kind of sad. Good for you. The dominant strategy in this task is to testify. But there's an important clarification. If the game is played repeatedly, the situation changes. Which one? In the iterated prisoner's dilemma, it becomes more advantageous to cooperate. In it, it is more correct not to betray and not to be jealous. That is, not to try to score more points than the opponent. Interesting. So in a game like this, it becomes helpful to be good? Exactly. I really like this variation of the game. It shows that even a person guided solely by selfish motives can be kind of forgiving. I like the idea too, but at the same time there was something missing. Have you played The Evolution of Trust? Maybe I have, but I don't remember the name. It's a game about game theory by Nicky Case. No, I haven't played it. I've always proudly called myself a gamer, although I wouldn't obsessively play a certain game over and over like most of my classmates did. I played everything. I was familiar with basically all more or less popular games. I thought I was the biggest nerd in games and memes, so it really upset me that a dude who had dedicated his whole life to academics and science was playing a game I'd never even heard of. It's a short but very cool game. It talks about one of the types of the prisoner's dilemma. A machine gives the person 3 coins if you drop one, and vice versa. This game is like a visual novel. Wow. I'm pushing that fourth wall again here? Not really, but sort of. It shows very clearly that in the recurring prisoner's dilemma, it's important not only to be kind and unenvious, but also to be able to take a revenge. So if the other player didn't drop a coin, you won't drop it either, right? No. What you described is called the trigger strategy. The counterparty cheats once, and you're no longer willing to cooperate with them. It's ineffective. Sometimes you have to be forgivable. You can take your revenge once and go back to cooperating if the counterparty realises their mistake. Now the puzzle seems to have come together. Without the vindictiveness, it seemed that people who were always willing to cooperate with everyone would benefit, but that's obviously not the case. Shall we go? Yeah, let's go. I don't know how long we've been sitting there, but my feet started to freeze. It took some effort to get up. Can you tell me about any other model? Sure. Just as useful and applicable in real life as the last one? That was only half a joke. Life is certainly more complicated than these game models, but there was something about the repeated prisoner's dilemma that made it seem more like a fable than a problem. Let me tell you about the hawks and doves game. Is it about birds or figuratively? Exactly. The hawks symbolise aggression and the doves symbolise peacefulness. I knew it. Mark smiled approvingly. In this game, 2 males compete for a female. The winner gets to mate. The players can be of 2 types, hawks and pigeons. They are so called because the hawk is associated with aggression and the pigeon with peacefulness. In this game, pigeons are restricted from threats and display power in the process of fighting, while hawks get into the fight. Is it true that hawks are aggressive and pigeons are not? That felt like it was turning more Scottish than Russian, but never mind. I'll just do these voices as best as I can. I don't know. Probably true to some extent, though I've heard that pigeons can fight too. But it doesn't matter. Pigeon and hawk are just symbols. Any animal can play the game. I see, go ahead. If 2 pigeons meet, the winner is the one who gets a lot of nerves, so he gets the female. The loser gets nothing, but also loses nothing. If hawks meet, they fight, and the winner also gets the right to bear offspring, but in this case, the loser is seriously injured. Is it really worth risking so much for the right to mate? That's definitely not freaking Russian anymore. Mark laughed. I don't know, I'm child-free, but lots of animal species inherit it evolutionarily. What happens if a pigeon and a hawk meet? I might just make Nick's voice just generic. Then the hawk will be raring to fight and the pigeon will have to back off. I tried to process the information. It all sounded very interesting. So what does this game teach us? It's simple. If you're beaten down and desperate, you'll benefit from it, but only until you run into someone just as beaten down and desperate. I think it can still be useful to lie to make everyone think you're a hawk, even if you're a dove. That's the way it is. It's a strategy called brinkmanship. It's even used in politics and business. Yes, indeed it is. Did you ever get bullied in school? Unexpected question. I decided to answer honestly. At school, no. I attend a very good gymnasium where any fighting or bullying is strictly suppressed. My classmates, for the most part, aren't bad guys. However, I had it at camp. And how did you solve this problem? I didn't, I just put up with it. I was not beaten, but the older guys needed someone to make fun of, to show that they are cool. During one of the shifts, I was that guy for some reason. Yes, it's unpleasant, I understand. But compared to me, you're lucky. I got bullied pretty badly. Been beaten, left with no pocket money. They could mess up my stuff, lock me inside the class for a long time. One day I stopped it. How? I decided to pretend to be a hawk. I didn't know about game theory then, but I worked it all out in my head and came up with a winning strategy. Complaining to teachers, begging, trying to avoid, nothing worked. And I thought, if I have nothing to lose and I'm going to be bullied anyway, why not stand up for myself? I started by burning the stuff of the head bully. I got out of the gym early, went into the locker room, took his bag with his clothes and everything else, left the school, and burned it all. Only the phone was left in the locker room. If I destroyed it too, I'd be on the watch list for sure. Wow, drastic. Mark was like the quiet kid who comes to school with a gun one day. Yes, what happened next? I took a picture of the burned stuff and sent it to him on VK from the fake profile. However, I think he guessed who this was anyway, so I decided not to come to school the next day just in case. Instead, I ambushed him outside his house after the gym. Did you know where he lived? Yeah, I was visiting him in high school. He wasn't bullying me back then. He invited me and the whole class to his birthday party. And how did you find out about the training? He told himself that he does boxing. All I had to do was go to the gym where he was training and ask about the schedule. Yeah, you straight up did a pretty good job. But then why did you write from a fake account if you're going to reveal yourself later? Because I was hoping for a surprise. If I hadn't been hiding, he might have visited me before I came to him. And then what happened? What happened after you got him? Then I broke his leg with a crowbar. Okay, suddenly I feel, Okay, so Elisa, before we were sort of thinking, are you going to be the antagonistic character in the group who could prove to be a bit dangerous? Not going to lie, I'm looking at you a bit warily now, Mark. I'm worried that you could be potentially dangerous. Or a potential source of friction here. What a twist. I looked Mark in the eye trying to figure out if he was joking, but he wasn't joking. Are you serious? You must have been in big trouble after that. You didn't get locked up? Mark laughed. No, but it was coming to that. I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I guess I got passionate after I burned his stuff. That's when my dad got me off. He paid the cops and talked to the guy's parents that were about to sue for physical abuse and property damage. Oddly enough, they agreed not to file a report. At home I was punished by my parents. They asked me why I hadn't told them when I actually did. They just never took it seriously. They haven't bullied you since? Nope. That guy was out of school for 2 months, and after that he was still walking with a cane for a while. My classmates avoided me for the rest of the year. So I think the easiest way to make the bullying stop is to show the bullies that you're tougher than they are. Damn. But I certainly wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Life is a little more complicated than simple game theory models, after all. Mark's story impressed me. I think I have begun to love game theory. I wanted to ask for one more model, but I thought I must have bored Mark with my requests. I was getting tired myself. This is like a friggin' Danganronpa free time event, this. We're learning more about the characters. I like it. Mark, why don't we take a break? Come on. Let's take a break and go back. We should find a rock to sit on. Duh, I found one. I wandered around the surrounding area for a while and found a rock covered in snow too. I tried to clear the snow before I sat down, but instead I accidentally moved the boulder out of the way. How can it be so light? Maybe it's not a rock. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, what have you found? I shook off some more snow, took a closer look and screamed for joy. Ah. Mark, there's a suitcase. Oh, is that Nick in the background? I think is that the first time we've seen Nick? What he looks like? I don't know. Holy crap, we finally found it. Man, I hope there's some food in it. If we found one here, the others must be around here somewhere. I think we'll find something useful. After a long search, we recovered 3 more suitcases from under the snow. Fewer than we'd like, but we haven't thought about that yet. Shall we open it? Come on. The first one had 2 bottles of whiskey, yogurts and tangerines in it. The second one had clothes, educational board games and a few children's books. You can have it. Why would I want that? Well, what do you usually read at your age? I just don't know what kids are interested in these days. You're just a master of humour. Duh. The third suitcase had cookies and waffles in addition to clothes. I started salivating. You can have one from each. We'll split the rest at camp, okay? I nodded and proceeded unpacking. Mark, meanwhile, opened the last suitcase. There's only cosmetics and women's clothes, so there's food only in those 2. Well, if there's women's clothes, I don't know. Take them back anyway. It's fabric, it's material that you could potentially use. Even if you're not going to wear it, you could maybe, tear it up. Makeshift bandages if they come in handy. Anything of that sort, Survival situation, you got to think about how you can use the materials around you. It's a shame, but it's good that at least we found something. But I don't understand, why bring so many tangerines from Moscow? It's hard to say, but I'm glad there are such people. Tangerines. It's good. Source of vitamin C. Because, you know, interesting little anecdote here. Sorry, I'm taking a digression. Not too long ago, I read a book called Madhouse at the End of the Earth. I've forgotten who wrote it, but basically it was an account of the Belgian Antarctic expedition of the late 1890s, led by Adrien de Gerlach, or whatever he was called. And it also had a number of notable individuals on board, like Roald Amundsen, for example, who would become, you know, famous Norwegian explorer who went to the South Pole. And it was a really fascinating read, but it's also quite grim, because obviously of the health complications that a lot of the crew on that ship suffered when they were locked in the Antarctic ice for months and months on end. And of course one of the big ones is scurvy, because of course when, you know, you get obviously polar nights in the Antarctic where the sun goes down and it just is dark for months and months on end. You get no sunlight, so there's like no vitamin D, and of course eventually you're eating essentially what are non-perishable foodstuffs, canned food, things like that. You have to rely on it, and of course the danger there is you're not getting other vitamins, and so, you know, eventually they had to solve it by eating raw seal meat and stuff like this, which of course is not very appetising, but when you're in a survival situation you have to do what you have to do. I agree. Oh wait, there's Nick talking. I agree. What are we going to do with the yogurts? They're stale. We'll take it. Better an upset stomach than a hungry death. True. Take it with you. You might be able to still eat it. Can we go now? Are you rested? Duh. I lied. Actually, I didn't have time to rest, but I'd already eaten my cookies and waffles, and now I wanted to get my ration as soon as possible after the food distribution. Let's go. We'll have to keep looking in that direction next time. Still, it's strange that we only found 4 suitcases. I don't see how they could have been so scattered. We took everything we could find useful, mostly it was food, and put it in one of the suitcases. Mark took a sip of whiskey, but didn't touch the food. It was to keep him warm. His voice sounded a little guilty. He didn't offer me whiskey, and I didn't ask for it. We moved back. Oh, sort of like that. Whoa, okay, he's got fast picking attack. Oh, you bastard. Shit. Okay, we did it. I think I took a bit of health there. You see on the sort of UI in the bottom left, like red bar on the top. I think that's basically your health. To blast a stream of flames, can channel a magic power into volatile fire, has a lasting effect on those who come into contact with it. Yeah, we figured that one out already. That's fine. Now what's going on here? Any monsters? Want to cause further problems? What about this glistening shit? Can we burn it? Apparently not, no. Right, so there is a staircase that takes us up. I don't go towards them. That's pretty fine, isn't it?